this video we are going to be talking about, well, this recent December tornado outbreaks, because I want to make something clear. Tornadoes in December are not rare. Even big outbreaks in December aren't really rare anymore because of climate change. But the outbreaks in the last couple of weeks were not that. They were more than that. And that's kind of what I want to dissect in this video. Now, it would be nice if I had my computer with me, but we don't have that, so I'm just going to let that slide. So, what I want to just talk about is how December outbreaks are actually starting to become more common. For example, a good example I want to look at is 2015, where we had 83 confirmed tornadoes in the month of December. That was actually near the record of 99, which was set back in 2002, mainly through two outbreaks which both spawned 48 tornadoes, which I think actually one was on 44, one was on 48, I don't know. Those outbreaks set the record for the most tornadoes in a December outbreak until, of course, the last couple of weeks. But 2015 got close to that. You had 38-ish tornadoes in a notable outbreak from December 23rd to 25th. The notable tornadoes were on December 23rd across the South, and there were only a few isolated and weak tornadoes on the 24th and 25th. You wound up having multiple tornado emergencies, which would set a record until, of course, 2 weeks ago. And you would wind up actually seeing a lot of destruction. You had almost $11 million in damage caused, as well as 9 deaths and 36 injuries, as a result of an EF4 tornado that struck Holly Springs, Mississippi, and Selma, Tennessee. 2 other EF3 tornadoes killed 2 people. In total, the outbreak caused 13 deaths, as well as 5 in non-tornadic waves, 77 injuries, and $23 million in damage. What you're going to see with tornado outbreaks is you're going to see a split where some of them have estimates that do factor in the storm as a whole, and some of them don't. But my rule of thumb is, if it's lower, then say that they only factor in tornadoes. Of course, this isn't totally accurate, and there can be very weak straight line systems that don't cause that much damage, as well as tornadoes that actually do wind up causing a lot of damage. Then, you had 32 tornadoes that killed 13 people in another incident. Just north of Dallas, an EF4 tornado killed 10 people, caused 468 injuries, and caused $27 million in damage. In total, the tornadoes alone are estimated to have cost $50 million, and the system at large to have cost $1.2 billion across the Dallas area. An EF2 killed another 2 people, as well as causing over 100 other injuries, and there was another death due to an EF1 elsewhere in the state of Texas. And this is all on the 26th, but the outbreak continues on the 27th and 28th. Overall, though you wound up having 13 deaths. The storm complex had as a whole, as well as over like 600 injuries. Overall, the storm complex as a whole wound up actually causing 59 deaths. But, you know, it's just kind of like a lot of them went other ways. You had a lot of wind deaths, and you had 5 deaths due to an extreme blizzard caused in New Mexico and Colorado. Anyway, in the month of what do we call it? December, there were other notable outbreaks. 2019, so just 2 years ago, we had an outbreak that caused 40 tornadoes. In total, that December saw 51 confirmed tornadoes. We had 40 tornadoes that caused 3 deaths. And one of the more notable tornadoes is one of the EF3s. Killed a person in Louisiana, as well as causing over $1.21 million in damage. Not sure about the injury count. I think there was another tornado that also wound up causing about maybe even $20 million, right? Not killing a person. I haven't checked the Wikipedia on this outbreak in a long time. Probably should do that. 2018, you saw an outbreak in the beginning days of December, as well as on November 30th, where an intense EF3 tornado wound up causing 22 injuries in Illinois, and in Aurora, Missouri, you wound up seeing a death. So in total, you had a death and 32 injuries as a result of this tornado outbreak. Which, again, you know, pretty significant. Overall, that December wound up seeing 66 tornadoes. You also had a rare EF2 tornado that touched down in Port Orchard, which wound up causing $1.81 million in damage, even though it didn't kill or injure anyone. And it was notable in the sense of it being the first EF2 in Washington since 1986. Being in December, which made it even more rare. Possibly the first time that happened in, real history. A December tornado in Washington happens in only 1 in every 10 years on average, and the vast majority are rated EF0. This was part of an atmospheric river event that wound up causing $18 billion in damage across the area in this part of December. There wasn't even a tornado warning issued for the tornado, and it was the first tornado in over a year and a half to touch down in western Washington. The vast majority of these actually occur in eastern Washington. This is because while it's definitely not in the Great Plains, and certainly not in the tropical southeast, tornadoes can really go about as far as the Montana area. They really just can go as far as the Montana area. The reason why they can go out to Montana, and we saw this in the 2010 Billings tornado, touched down on Father's Day 2010, that wound up causing $30 million in damage by not killing or injuring anyone, is because of its geographic location. But then once you get to the Rockies, it becomes rarer. Still, in 1987, we did see a violent F4 tornado cause $2.5 million damage across Teton and Yellowstone. This made it the westernmost violent tornado and the northernmost, not northernmost, and because it was actually an F5 in Canada, if you believe it or not. LA, Manitoba, $40 million in damage back in June 2007. It was the furthest west. Only violent tornado in Wyoming. That was what I was missing. And the only and the highest altitude. So, we have seen F3s in Oregon and Washington before. And an EF2 actually did strike down in October in Montezuma, Oregon, which also got notability despite only causing $1 million in damage. But you really don't see things of this magnitude in December. But what happened in 2021 was more than that. So I want to talk about the 2 historic storms. There are actually 4 historic storms, but 2 of them affected Asia and won't really be discussed in this video. I might mention them lightly at the end, I'll say. The first tornado outbreak was on December 10th to 11th. There was a winter storm that was unfolding across northern Wisconsin really since the 9th. And everyone knew that there was a potential for nighttime tornadoes going into the 10th. It was named Winter Storm Atticus. If you're wondering, this is the same Atticus as the Atticus in Phil Malcolm was wondering. That is ice. I didn't make a video and I forgot to take a picture of it, but it actually did snow at about 3 o'clock in the morning. We actually got 0.45 inches worth of snow, and because it was, in upper 20s, lower 30s, that kind of area. When I woke up, it was 32 degrees, and you could still see the snow, and I was out at 8:40 in the morning because I'm on break. But it wound up rapidly melting. Over half of it was gone just an hour and a half later by 10:15, and by 1 o'clock it was all gone. Even though the temperature is still in the upper 30s, it can just, when you have light snow, it can melt a lot quicker. So there was a white Christmas Eve, but unfortunately, unless something happens this morning, there will not be a white Christmas. Anyway, going on, so that wound up dropping over 20 inches of 50 centimeters of snow in portions of Wisconsin, Minnesota. And on the 10th, everyone knew that there could be a nighttime tornado outbreak. And on that Friday night, on December 10th, at about just after 6 o'clock p.m., the 24-hour and 11-minute long tornado outbreak would begin. What nobody realized, though, is how destructive these tornadoes would actually be. For example, at 7:45 p.m. local. By the way, it's all in local time. By the way, remember how I said it began at like 6 p.m. I think I meant just after 4 p.m. So it was still during the day. They were tracking a supercell storm near the a supercell near Jonesboro at about 7:45 local time, which is 8:45 for me, by the way. And what wound up happening was that this tornado was a violent EF4 tornado that caused 7 deaths and 8 injuries, and it went through 3 states, a tri-state tornado, though it's not commonly called that, as it went through Arkansas, Missouri, and Tennessee. And this tornado wound up dissipating at about like 8:36, I think. But, such a long track tornado is very rare, especially considering that it was December. That over there, where I'm pointing to, is very real. Do want to make a note of that. But what you see there, I'll have to photos. Damn it, I'm so forgetful. There's some photos I have to inspect. Make sure they're all accurate. I'll inspect those. But yeah, that what you see over there is very real. Let me just take a picture of that. Yeah, I don't know what's happening. I think my friends are in that car. I'm just gonna cross before something weird happens. Yeah, my friends. I have a friend who's literally in that car. That's weird. I wonder what they're doing. Intriguingly enough, they're now turning right. Well. Oh. We have tornadoes to talk about. Anyway, so that's what happened. That, an EF4 isn't totally out of the blue. And as a matter of fact, both 1953 and 1957 had F5 tornadoes in December. So, this isn't rare. We have had EF4 since 74, blah, blah, blah. What is rare, though, is how long tracked it was. And it requires like a spring-like setup like you would typically see in April or May. The problem is that happening in December is rare. Well, yes, that could happen in 2015. First of all, it is more able to happen in Dallas and even in the deep south of like Mississippi and southern Tennessee. We have to understand that this took place further north than that. Especially the western Kentucky tornadoes is even further north than that and kind of borderline on the southeast and Midwest at that point, Kentucky. It's kind of on the border. And I have seen it gone both ways, especially considering that Kentucky never joined the Confederacy, although they did allow slavery. Missouri is also in this weird situation, and so is Maryland and Delaware on the East Coast. They allowed slavery, but they weren't on the Confederate side. So, as such, while it was 1815 for free states versus slave states, the U.S. versus Confederacy was actually 22-11, which would become 23-11 during the war because of West Virginia. Wait, no. Wasn't West Virginia the 35th state? Okay, I need to really stop getting us off track. We have tornadoes to talk about. And violent outbreaks in Kentucky aren't totally rare, even in the winter. I mean, March 2nd and 3rd, tornado outbreaks saw 41 deaths, of which 22 were in Kentucky. But, again, what I'm trying to say that what's really rare about this is not just the fact of, destructive tornadoes. It's more so in the line of destructive tornadoes in December requiring spring-like setup. Because sometimes you don't need a full spring-like setup, you only need something else. The temperatures, for example, were in the 70s, and dew points were near there too. Some places approach 80 degrees, and that's pretty rare in December. This is what a tornado outbreak thrives off of. And at 8:49 p.m., the most destructive tornado of them all would touch down in Obion County, Tennessee, just miles away from the Kentucky border. It would immediately cross into Kentucky and become the longest track December tornado, one of the longest in American history, as it swept over 160 miles through the region. Mayfield was particularly impacted with a candle factory burning down, killing 8 people. But the trail of devastation went far, far beyond that, and as it turns out, 58 people wound up losing their lives in this single tornado. This will make it the deadliest single tornado since the 2011 Joplin tornado killed 158 people as it struck Joplin, Missouri, a violent EF5 tornado. Also, around this time, in case you want to know, there's a pretty bad EF3 in Edwardsville, Illinois, that would wind up claiming 6 lives on its own. So, anyway, what happened was that this long track tornado would go until 11:47 p.m. So it's comparable to the tri-state tornado in terms of length. The tri-state tornado lasts for about 3.5 hours and tracked 220 miles, and this is comparable. That one, though, was more destructive, as it caused 695 people to lose their lives. And that was also rated F5. A lot of people thought that this could have been a quad-state tornado, but unless NCEI data, which wouldn't come out till the end of March anyway, if not even later, unless NCEI data does suggest this, we don't say it was a quad-state tornado, despite the internet hype about it. We also think this is a quad-state tornado outbreak because notable tornadoes are in Illinois, and it will just confuse everyone because these tornadoes affected multiple regions. Just after 1 o'clock in the morning, another EF3 wound up striking Bowling Green, Kentucky, and even though it was short-lived, it still caused 17 deaths. During this time, another 120-mile tornado, the second longest in December history behind the Western Kentucky one, also touched down. This is an EF3. It didn't kill anyone, but it did cause 13 injuries as it moved across the region. Honestly, this is a sensitive topic to talk about, given the sheer destruction. You have 89 people dying, 3 in the straight line system as a whole. The blizzard would wind up swinging on December 12th. As it moved across the region on the 11th, a lot of people thought more tornadoes were possible, including as far as Newark, New Jersey. Fortunately, though, this outbreak wound up underperforming. In total, there were 69 tornadoes. The outbreak ended about 5 o'clock Eastern time with a tornado in Georgia. But really, after about 4 a.m. Central time, most of the tornadoes stopped, and the ones that did were all weak, as this would wind up underperforming. Now, December would not be over with this wrath of fury. Indeed, a 93 tornado outbreak, as weird as it is to say, would wind up striking again, this time on the 15th. This is a rapid outbreak as it lasted only 7 hours and 56 minutes. From the first tornado touchdown at 1:27 p.m. to the last one, which dissipated at 9:23 p.m., there were also no EF3 or stronger tornadoes, just EF2s. And there were no deaths or injuries in the tornadoes. There were 5 people were killed and multiple were injured in the derecho as a whole. This is also broke the record of the October 2010 North American Storm Complex release derecho. That also set the record for the most continuous tornadoes in a continuous October outbreak. We're going to actually go there. Which, if you're wondering, was in this outbreak is 69.087. And this derecho caused 5 deaths, including one in Iowa and Minnesota. You saw the most hurricane force wind gusts in this, breaking out of the August 2010 Midwest derecho. That's currently our costliest thunderstorm with $11 billion now, as well as 4 deaths, of which 1 was in Indiana, 3 in Iowa. And this one could become costly as well as a tornado outbreak, which we're waiting for the damage estimates to come out, which probably we're not going to see until March or April, honestly. With this many tornadoes to survey, they might be a little bit behind on the NCEI data stuff. Although, while they have to spend a lot of time working on October as well, November should be a relatively easy month for them. But yes, we definitely could see a bit of a delay on some of the other ones. I swear, the dew point's like in the teens right now. It's so dry, so you can hear me breathing. Because it's like, it's not only is it cold, but it's also like a complete lack of humidity. Because it can be 40 degrees, and you could have a dew point of 40, and then that wouldn't actually be so sucky. But, yeah, if only that was the case, honestly. I actually went to elementary school a couple years back. But, like, this playground was, like, never as good when I went here. Actually, I think I went to this for, like, 1 year. And I think I went to another one for 3. That one was better than this one, but this one is still pretty fun. Anyway. In the month of, December, again, 93 tornadoes confirmed, which is a lot, must I say. I actually just remember this. Is a lot. You know, the lack of destruction does kind of question how notable they really are. How notable of an outbreak this really was. This was really just a very disastrous quick spin of event. If you're wondering why December 15th was such a disaster setup, I was just in Iowa, which is normally freezing, while we had the first Minnesota tornadoes. What you have to understand is that for this outbreak, already, generally in Iowa this time of year, you have an average high of like 31 and an average low of like 15. But at least in somewhere like Cedar Rapids, which we're going to take as our comparison point. But Cedar Rapids was getting warmer. You had lows of about 33 and highs of about 53. That's going to be slightly above normal here, but well above normal in Cedar Rapids. So already, you were like 20 degrees over average for multiple days in a row. But then there was a day, December 14th, where at night, it just wouldn't cool off. You'd have a low of 53 the next day, and a high of 75. The temperature would drop down to 66, but at this point, the humidity would surge, so the dew points would go from the upper 50s out to the mid 60s, which is impressive. Then the storm came, and before it was about 69 degrees, and it dropped down to 61. Temperatures, though, got to 51 by midnight, which would be the high the next day, and by 2 a.m. they're at 38, where temperatures will go back to being at near normal levels. Hence why this was such an extreme derecho event as well. Over 600,000 people lost power as well. Both of these are very likely to be billion-dollar weather disasters. That is a weather disaster that causes more than $1 billion in damages. Oh shoot, I don't know how I'm gonna get out of here. Honestly, I might actually be screwed. I don't know how to get out. I don't think that there's a way out. Oh no, doing all this was a very stupid idea. I'm not tall enough to climb the fence or anything. I'm very bad at climbing fences. Maybe there's somewhere else where it'll just not be as tall, but I'm still nervous about it. But that's just kind of how December tornadoes just kind of work. And that in most cases they're disappointing, even though they're not rare. But in this case, they definitely went, oh, maybe I can use this. Maybe I can just climb using this. That's what I'm going to do.